So, thank you very much, Dimitri, for the kind introduction. Thank you also, Stockholmskai School of Economics, for hosting this event for us. My name is Daniel Strandhammar, and I'm here together with my colleague Björn Eriksson. And for us, it feels very inspirational to be here today and share our experience on our favorite topic, which is modularization and how that can increase your efficiency within, for example, product development and the entire value chain. So, short about my background within modularization. I started my career at Scania, which is more or less the founder of modularization, similar to as Toyota is the founder of lean manufacturing. After that, I have worked at different companies as a consultant, supporting them in implementing modularization, both high volumes, low volumes, and project-related business. So, the agenda of this evening is that we will have an introduction regarding modularization. We will start with a short company introduction of brief strategy. Then we will show a little bit about the modularization approach and also come into the benefits that you can realize from modularization. After that, we have a coffee break, and then we have a group sessions where we will interact with each other and have a group discussion. And there will be time for questions, but we would like to have the questions just before the coffee break. So, short about the company brick strategy. Even though we have a long experience within the field, we are a quite young company. We were founded in 2014. We are based in Stockholm, Sweden, but even though we are located there, we have executed projects more or less all over the world. And all of our employees are quite experienced, and we have experience both from line management within leading industrial companies as well as consulting, management consulting and modularization execution since 1998. So, as I mentioned initially, I started my career at Scania, and that's the company where we have taken most of our inspiration from. So our basic methodology comes from Scania, which, as I mentioned, also more or less founded modularization. Then, of course, we have learned, as we have worked with different leading companies all over the years. And those companies, they are like IKEA, which has very, very high production volumes. Also Volvo, Scania, and those type of automotive companies which are quite famous for their high volumes. Then we have other companies that are very much project business. Vestas, a leading company within wind turbines, for example, and they are driven very much from mega deals, very large projects where they historically go in and do one optimized design for. We have also very much engineering order companies. Camfil, they make ventilation equipment, where more or less each product they deliver is a unique variant where they have parametric design on some of the elements. So, our service offer. So, the core of our service offers is here in the center, and that is the modularization. But as we know, to be successful with the actual modularization, you need to prepare in advance. And that's the reason why we sometimes help our clients upfront to do a product strategy. And this is very much about understanding which is our market, which segments should we focus on, which products are profitable for us, and also about saying no to certain products and customers. Then, when you have done the modularization, to make sure that you are sustainable over time with the result, we know that some things within your companies need to change. And this can, for example, be roles and responsibility which need to be set up in a different way. It can be the product development process and the way that you work in your IT systems and the way that you document your products. So this is our 3 services. So that was the first part, very short about BRIC strategy, but you are free to ask questions a little bit later. Then let's go into the approach. So first of all, what is modularization then? So before we start working with a company, they have often very much worked in silos with their product development. They focused all their development efforts on one product without much cooperation with the other products and having them in mind. Then they developed the next project. Maybe there was 2 different teams or 3 teams if we look at the third products. You see that there is not much synergies and sharing in between. Maybe the product structure looks different for the products. Maybe they have unique ways of selling them, manufacturing, transporting, installation and service. Not much was shared. But the purpose of modularization is very much to enable those synergies in between the products. This means that when you have implemented modularization, the product structure or the architecture of the product should look the same across all products. They should share technology in between. They should be documented in the same way so they can be sold via the same product configurator if that is used. They should be manufacturing or be able to be manufactured in the same factory, transported, installed and serviced the same way. This will be much easier for the entire organization to manage them. So another way of looking at modularization is to look at it from an external market view and an internal view. So before we start working with many customers, they see themselves as a company that has a quite narrow product offer. They are not able to offer all the variants and options that the customer would like to buy, even though they feel that they have too many part numbers internally to manage. But then with modularization and standardized interfaces, etc., and when you have done it right, then you should have a situation where you have a very wide offer towards the market with all the variants that the customer wants. The right options and features should be selectable, but with as low complexity and cost as possible. So you would like to offer a wide range of products with as few components as possible internally. And that will then give you some benefit and increase efficiency throughout the entire organization. And we also say that of course it is this variation and flexibility, but what you also should prepare for, depending on in which business you are, it is to make sure that you are agile and prepared for future upgrades. For example, at Scania, what was important there was that we prepared for future emission levels. When I worked there, it was the main products, they were produced based on Euro 4 engines. But we knew that in a couple of years, the Euro 5 will kick in. And then, for us it was very important to prepare the space underneath the cab, so we have the required space to fit in the Euro 4 engine. All others, or the Euro 5 engines, all other competitors, for example, Volvo, Mercedes and so on, they needed to redesign the entire cab to fit in the Euro 5 engines, and that costed a lot, and it took also time, etc., for them to launch that on the market. So it is very much about flexibility, agility, and then also cost efficiency, where we have the few variants. Then, how does the transformation journey look like? Because this is, of course, nothing that happens just overnight. We know by experience that starting from scratch and doing the full implementation, that can take years. Our experience is that it's very good to start with, first of all, a business case, to set targets, what would we like to achieve, and what is it worth. Then, when you have that in place, you need to form your product strategy, as we mentioned, our first service. Where should we compete, which are our key customers, and where should we not compete? Then, that is kind of the pre-study phase. Then, in the concept phase, here it's very important to understand the customer needs. What are our customer needs for our key customers and key segments? What is the value chain needs? What needs and requirements does our service organization has, manufacturing and other parts of the value chain? And then when we know that, then we can develop the products. And here, when we develop the products, we should not, as we mentioned, focus only on one product at a time. We should front load the project with resources. So we initially think about all the products that we are going to develop. So we have this cross synergies. And when we have done that, then it's very important to work with, based on our experience, to interface management. Then build, maybe we can do something different to increase efficiency in the value chain. Maybe we can manufacture them different, service them different, and then we need to build concept for that new value chain. And also, if this is a high volume product, we can document it in a sales configurator. That is sometimes also possible if we have lower volume products, but then the configurator needs to be flexible to also handle parametric designs of ventilation ducts, etc., where we don't know and can predefine the lengths. Then the last phase here, that is very much about the governance and change management to make sure that we get a sustainable result over time. So this is not just a product that became something that is a couple of PowerPoint slides that is put in a drawer sometimes. And then we know by experience that we need to change roles and responsibilities. We need to update the product development processes, because often our customers, they have had brilliant product development processes, but for development of single products. Now we should, in the future, think wider from an assortment perspective. But we also need to document our products in the right way in our IT system. And here, specifically, the PLM system comes into place.
И здесь очень важную роль играют системы PLM.
So what we do in the modularization, it's very much we are structuring the product to enable a very structured documentation in our PLM systems and all our ERP and configurator systems.
По продукту, которая затем вносится в PLM-систему.
Of course, not all companies need to go through this entire journey. This is the full-blown transformation process, but we are always flexible and jump in and support the customers depending on where they see that they are right now.
В зависимости от того, где сейчас находится клиент.
But the core and the main difference in this way of working is the actual modular system. Since I mentioned that many customers that we have worked with previously, they have brilliant processes for developing single products. But how do we do this different now when we front load the project? So we have developed a 6-step approach, and this is an approach that is used early in your development projects, and it's where you see G2 there up in the right corner. That is normally where detailed design should be started. So this is something that you do prior to detailed design, where you take a lot of decisions initially in the project. And how is this then done? So what we normally do is that we start the project by working together with product management, sales department, etc. to figure out what different needs does we have between our segments and our different markets, different product applications, etc. And also understand, okay, to fulfill our different customers and market needs, etc., what options and features do we need to offer? And this is not only for the first release of the product. We also, as I mentioned for Scania, they thought already in the beginning for what requirements that will come later, so we can prepare for that. So that is also important to understand. And when we have this documented and understood, then we take all those requirements and start to link them to the different components. Which varying requirements impact which of the components of our product. And we have structured Excel-based tool to do this mapping in a project, but this picture shows the process overview. Then also the third step here is to select very much technology concept, and often when our customers have worked in silos per product, they have used different technology in product 1, product 2 and product 3. So what we try to do here is to harmonize and select one of those 3 and then the one of those that is best from a value chain perspective. So normally, many companies, they have worked looked only at material cost, the cost of purchasing the component. But we try to look at the 360 view and look at the entire value chain, not only what is most cheapest to buy, but also which is best to manufacture, service, transport, and which of those technologies that we have used previously is best from a performance point of view for our customers. When we have this mapping, we have selected the best technology. Then we start to define modules and variants to deliver the necessary products for our customers. And here it's
твоим
this
клиентам.
is not an automatic work, it's a lot
И
of
это
business
работа
cases that
не
needs to be done,
автоматическая.
etc. For
Здесь
example,
мы работаем с разными
at
бизнес-кейсами.
Scania we had a lot
Scania,
of
например,
different
У нас были
loads that should be carried by the trucks, and then
Данные
okay, how many,
по
for example,
нагрузке
axles, drive axles should we have for
и
that?
по
So
грузам.
then we
То
needed
есть,
to do
сколько
business cases to understand
тоннаж
how
какой
many, where it's
должен быть
worth to
грузовиков.
over-specify and split
И
up in different
мы потом
variants.
изучали все эти требования к
Then
тоннажу
when we
и
have those variants of the different modules,
определяли варианты.
then
Потом, когда есть уже все эти варианты,
what
модули,
is key of the modularization then is to make sure that
Это
we
очень
have
важно
standardized
в модульном подходе.
interfaces in
необходимо
between the
обеспечить
modules.
стандартизированные интерфейсы между модулями.
And that is then to make sure that we have
Зачем
that
это делается?
all module
делается для
variants
того,
of
чтобы
one module
убедиться,
can be
что
combined
все
with all module
варианты
variants
одного
of
модуля
another module.
можно комбинировать с
one
вариантами другого
Quite
модуля.
concrete example here is
Приведу
the
пример.
windshield. You see
Например,
that
лобовое
the
стекло.
windshield,
Вот вы видите лобовое
Scania has
стекло.
only one variant, and that
Только
one
один
is
вариант
always
Scania.
attached in the same way
Стекло
to
всегда
all
крепится
the
одинаково
front sheet metal parts.
на,
And when we
соответственно, на кабине, на
compared
передней части кабины.
the Scania windshield
И
situation,
если
one
мы сравниваем
towards Volvo
лобовые
at
стекла
the point of
Scania,
time when I worked there. So
один,
Volvo,
то
they
есть
had
один
about
вариант.
20.
Volvo было
And what do you
20 примерно разных
think
вариантов.
happens then
И что, как вы думаете,
from a spare part
происходит
perspective? If
с
the
точки
driver
зрения запчастей?
comes out in
Если,
Australia and drives the truck and the
водитель,
stone hits the windshield and it
не
breaks.
знаю, из Австралии едет,
So
где-то и
what
потом
is
в другой
the
стране разбивает стекло в
chance
Эстонии,
that the workshop, the
вероятность,
closest workshop
что
has the right
ближайший
windshield if you drive a Volvo?
автомастерской будет соответствующее лобовое
It's
стекло.
not that big chance.
Шанс
But if you
невысок,
then
невелик.
have a Scania where you only
Но если,
have one part, spare part to have in stock,
если это
then
грузовик
it's a
Scania,
quite large probability that
лобовое
that
стекло
windshield
только
will
одно,
be on stock
то
for sure.
вероятность
So it's
гораздо выше.
also a customer benefit
То есть
to
это
have
преимущество
fewer
также и
variants.
для клиента.
Then in the last step, we come to the documentation, and here we set up design guidelines where we
Затем
document
последний этап
why we chose this concept
документирования.
and why it should be used then when we develop products going
Здесь мы
further.
думаем,
We make
как этот процесс
module
можно
release plans
задокументировать,
and we
отразить в
document it in
руководстве,
the IT systems.
план выпуска в IT-системах и так далее, системе
So,
PLM.
and how does this look like then at Scania?
Как
So,
это было организовано в Scania?
as we
Как
see
это
here,
сейчас там работает?
if we lay out their
Если вот эти
module
все
variants and try to
разнести
create a couple of
варианты
product
модулей,
variants similar to a Las Vegas slot machine,
как вот,
So,
знаете, в
as you see,
одноруком
so
бандите
just
в
by
Лас-Вегасе,
replacing a few of the variants,
модули и варианты модулей.
they
Если мы
can
меняем
create a new end
вариантов,
customer variant
то
depending on
меняется
what
и
needs they
конечный результат в
have,
зависимости
etc.
от
So here
потребностей
we just
клиента.
got a little bit longer cab.
Здесь,
Let's see what happens
допустим,
next then. Okay,
кабина
there we have
одной
get a
длины,
little bit higher cab, and we
длины
just
высоты.
change
Тут, смотрите,
two
она становится
of the
чуть
modules.
повыше,
More or less
меняются два
everything else
модуля,
is
всё
reused
остальное
instead
то же
of needing to change all of them.
вместо того, чтобы делать все модули заново,
Here
создавать новую
we
кабину.
get both the higher and the
Здесь
longer one,
кабина и
and we just
повыше, и
change
по
those two
длине
parts.
тоже меняются всего два модуля, две части.
And here we get an even higher
Здесь
and
еще
even
выше
longer
и
for
еще
those
длиннее.
customers that want
Если
a very
нашему
good
клиенту
sleeping comfort, maybe
обеспечить
drive longer
очень
distances,
комфортные
etc.
условия для сна водителей, если дальнобойщик едет на очень длительное расстояние.
And now we wanted to show you a short movie
А
from
сейчас
Scania, how
Хотелось бы
this
показать вам
looks
коротенькое
in
видео
practice when they
Scania, как это
sell
выглядит на практике.
products based on the sales configurator towards
Они
their customers.
показывают это своим клиентам, как работает их конфигуратор продукции. Миллион вопросов. Создайте один ответ. Создайте свою Scania. Создайте свою собственную легенду. Придайте ей цель. Придайте ей душу. Будьте уникальны, как костюм, сшитый на заказ. Рулите конфигуратором Scania. Сохраните выбор. Поделитесь видением. Обратитесь к ближайшему дилеру.
Okay. So you see there how easy they can create different variants, and they have an enormous set of variants, and more or less they don't have more or less two variants that are exactly the same that passes through their factory, and anyway they can be extremely efficient and has been profitable over 60 years, more or less with unbroken profitability, because they have so much synergies in between the different product variants.
Синергетических связей между разными вариантами.
And let us have a look at some other companies and their benefits, because normally when you see the Scania case, then you think, okay, modularization, it's good for high volume benefits, it's applicable for the automotive industry. But I know that many of you work within companies that manufacture much lower volumes, etc. So let's take a few other examples. So if we think about the wind turbine business, that was very much driven historically from a project perspective. So they got one project up in North Germany with maybe 100 wind turbines, and then they took the silo and developed 100 brilliant wind turbines just for that site. And then the month after, they got another project, maybe in north of Sweden, where it's much colder, completely different requirements, other wind, etc. And then once again, they started from a white sheet of paper, and of course the synergies became more or less zero. So, but what has happened then when we have worked with them? Historically, they had different technology concepts in more or less not all products had unique, but they used 3 different technologies for gearboxes, etc. So now we have reduced the technology concept with 66%. So now they only work with 1 gearbox technology, and all the engineering resources can focus their efforts on that technology and make sure that they are best in class. Of course they have different size variants, but it's still 1 technology. Then also the total amount of part numbers, it is reduced with 40%, and of course that gives a lot of benefits for, first of all, for product development, since they need to develop less amount of parts, but also for procurement and sourcing, since they have a much better negotiation power towards their suppliers. But even though the part numbers is reduced and the technology concepts is reduced, so they have twice as wide product offer towards their customers. And when they are going to launch new products, so they are 40% faster
что время
doing
на рынок
that.
благодаря этому
And of course, they haven't prepared everything,
Конечно, не все заранее
but they have prepared, let's say, 70 to 80%, which can be configured, because they know that they will get unique requirements coming in. There will be Thai food products for Japanese markets, etc. that can't be pre-developed. So but when they get those orders, they can still reuse a lot from the standard prepared assortment of components and modules variants. And then they tailor the ones that needs to be unique for the new requirements. Also, another example, which is also very unique, is those huge ventilation aggregates for oil and gas industry. This is air inlets for gas turbines. So inside here there is a gas turbine, it could be Siemens, Alstom or whatever, that needs clean air with the right temperature, and that's what this product shows. And also here, this is very much depending on how the building and how the site looks like. There is a huge size difference from the smallest up to the largest. So here, enormous complexity, and more or less each product is completely unique. But even though they have improved a lot with modularization, so here the overall cost saving is approximately 15%. If we only look at the purchasing cost, so that is reduced by 7%. And that is also, as they had the same situation as the wind turbine manufacturer before, they developed unique products per sold order, where they didn't have much synergies. There was not so much negotiation power for the towards the suppliers, etc., which has increased and enabled that cost reduction. If we look at the part number reduction, that is around 58%, or that is very exact. And then the manufacturing cost saving, or cost of operation, the cost to manage those products has reduced with approximately 10%. And the R&D time spending per order has reduced with 50%. And then, of course, we also have some Scania figures which could be interesting to look at, which came up when we compared Scania with other competitors. And Scania, for the same offer, they have approximately 50% fewer items compared to Volvo. To develop a new truck variant, they spend 30 to 50% less R&D resources, and the production time and cost is 5 to 10% lower, and also the service time and cost is 30% lower based on this. So, but before finalizing this part of the presentation, we would like to show you another movie clip from YouTube. And as you all know, Industry 4 and those mega trends are hitting us. And for Scania, they see it very much as modularization helped them to succeed with Industry 4, because as they have prepared the product, so more or less all the modules variants, they look the same even though they are in different sizes, so it has been much easier to implement robotics, etc. in the manufacturing. So I will show you quickly here.
А это еще и выгодно с точки зрения робототехники, автоматизации производства.
Let's see. So this is their cab factory.
Вот это их производство кабин. $253 новейших робота. $409 вариантов окраски. В 2 раза выше эффективность производства. Индивидуальное решение для нужд клиентов.
So, even though each cab variant was completely unique and tailor-made, it could still be efficiently manufactured with robots. So that was what we wanted to show in this first part of the presentation. So I propose that we take a few minutes for questions, if there are any, before we go to the coffee break.